I'm Pat Doris. Welcome to The Story. We're starting off tonight with a story about salmon and Native Americans. We're focusing on a move by the federal government to keep part of a promise it made more than 170 years ago. And that is our big story tonight. Back in 2023, President Biden held something called the White House Tribal Nations Summit. As part of that, he signed an executive order which led to a grant of $240 million to help 27 different Northwest tribes modernize their fish hatcheries. The Cascade Fish Hatchery in the Columbia Gorge is one in our area that will benefit. Columbia Basin hatcheries like this pump out a total of roughly 600,000 salmon a year into the Columbia River. The salmon are important to tribes culturally and ecologically. Corrine Sams is the Fish and Wildlife Chair for the Umatilla Indian Reservation and the past chair of the Columbia River Intertribal Fish Commission. She said Oregon hatcheries will get a total of about $34 million.
It's completely overdue. You know, we have a backlog of infrastructure needs within the basin, specifically in the hatcheries. The Eagle Creek Hatchery facility located close to Cascade Locks has a lot of degrading equipment. It's difficult to hold a coho salmon there because of the dilapidated facilities. So this is long overdue. But we remain optimistic. We need these hatcheries to function at full capacity.
Now, Oregon is not the only place getting that hatchery money. It's pouring into Washington state as well. Erica Zucco from our affiliate in Seattle picks up that part of the story.
This hatchery in Tulalip raises and releases more than 11 million baby fish each year, a lifeline in Tulalip Bay where many wild salmon runs are depressed or endangered. But the infrastructure is outdated.
50 years plus of not having maintenance, 50 years of technology and increases in science have meant that these structures have fallen behind.
Tribes across the Northwest, from Tulalip to Muckleshoot and beyond, operate hatcheries like this one, working with partners to make improvements when possible. But a large influx of cash discussed Thursday will speed up the process for some.
This is a much needed injection into the infrastructure that supports all of these hatcheries, which not only supports the tribal fisheries, but supports all of the non-tribal fisheries, up and down the West Coast.
$240 million in Inflation Reduction Act money will go directly to tribes to modernize equipment. Now the process begins to determine which projects with which tribes. Tulalip hopes to use some of that funding to adjust to what they've learned from their work and advanced science.
We're in need of upgrade to be able to better facilitate releases and brood stocking at the same time, multiple releases for multiple species here on site, because we're finding that timing is key to our releases, and so having any delay because of fish health issues or growth, we need to be able to release fish that are in the adjacent ponds.
Legally, tribes have a right to half the catch, and governments have a responsibility to ensure there are fish to harvest.
These hatcheries is part of our treaty trust obligation to the tribes in ensuring that they have fish for their fisheries as well as for their subsistence and ceremonial purposes.
For Environment Northwest, I'm Erica Zucco.
Thanks, Erica. Moving on. Tonight, it's round two with Michael Jordan, the city administrator for Portland. Last night, he told us about the serious money challenges facing the city. Tonight, we're going to look at internal changes and how things are improving. In case you've not been following along, the city changed its structure on July 1st. There's now a city administrator running Portland. They are appointed by the mayor and approved by the city council. But instead of elected politicians running various bureaus and not having to cooperate with each other, now it's Michael Jordan running the show with the help of several deputy administrators and bureau directors. The politicians are kept off to the side. I asked him, how's that going?
I would say better than expected. As if we knew exactly what to expect. Maybe we didn't, but I think I'm already, like every week, I'm in meetings with folks, and you literally are seeing the lights come on about, in a new organization, how we can collaborate differently, and people actually literally saying, we can do that. And
Instead of that's not our department, we don't handle that.
We can't possibly do that. You know, things like sharing of staff, things like pulling people together on a project really quickly and quicker turnover and quicker response times. And the deputies are the ones that are making that happen, and they're collaborating with each other for the different service areas, if you recall. And so I'm seeing glimmers of what you would hope the city would be like in the next year or two or three. So people are adjusting as humans do. They're highly adaptable, and you change the situation and their behavior changes pretty quickly. And don't get me wrong, there are still plenty of challenges that will take, like I said, years for us to work out. Culture doesn't change overnight, but I'm encouraged by the progress so far.
You don't find that there's a block that's fighting you?
Oh, definitely. I mean,
definitely there is.
A block is probably too strong a word, but there's certainly isolated patches of parts of the organization where
they don't want to
let's
change.
just say they need to be reminded that there's somebody who can call the ball now and says this is the way it's going to be. And I realize that in the old days you may have been able to just disappear and not conform to what we need done and just wait it out. And in the old days when there were commissioners in charge and you didn't report to the other commissioner, and so why did you have to do that? And guess what? Now everybody reports to one person, and the person says we're going to get this done and figure out a way to do it. And again, behavior takes time, and people have been doing it a certain way for a long time. But I'm again really encouraged by how the organization is responding.
And in case you didn't get it earlier, that one person that can call the ball, that's him. Jordan says the cooperation within city government has now led to creative solutions that are happening in our neighborhoods all around Portland.
We now have a program, you may have heard of it, that actually holds problem solver meetings across the city. Every 2 weeks we hold 14, I want to say, meetings across the city. It's 12 or 14, I can't remember exactly. But this group is called PIMO, and I believe that's the Physical and Environmental Management Office. I think that's what it's called. I may be wrong there. But they really are bringing to bear the power of a really large organization to, in real time, solve problems in neighborhoods. And we're not talking about, rebuilding a street. We're talking about graffiti on road signs. We're talking about garbage along a roadway. We're talking about a houseless camp that needs to be taken care of, about derelict RVs along a street. And I'm not here to say that it's perfect in every case, but that program now has the ability, because it is run out of the executive office. It was formerly run out of the mayor's office, but now it reports to me as the administrator. And if we're having challenges with getting 1, 2, 3 or more bureaus engaged in solving a particular problem, there's somebody who can make that happen now very quickly. And so our ability to be responsive, I think, is enhanced by having not only that group of folks who are out in neighborhood literally every week, all week, interfacing with community, but on the backside of that, we have an ability now to bring the organization to bear on the problem, I think much more expeditiously.
And that's all happening because the city's structure has changed. While we're talking about smart solutions, here's another one. The city is now taking a hard look at all the vehicles it owns to see if it can save some money by getting rid of some of them.
We're actually going through one of the, I will say, cut concepts that's come out of the city motor pool, the vehicle folks, is to do a much more in-depth examination of all the vehicles at the city. You are absolutely correct that some bureaus do a wonderful job monitoring their vehicles, some not so much. And what we're finding is that there's at least a substantial number of vehicles that aren't being used as much as they could, and perhaps shouldn't even be in the fleet anymore. And so managing the size of the fleet and also managing how that fleet is taken care of so we don't go beyond maintenance protocols, and make sure that not only are the vehicles operational and safe, but also making sure our fleet is optimized and not bigger than it has to be. So we are looking at all those things.
All right, so we've heard that the city is starting to function better. People are cooperating and also being held accountable if they don't want to change their ways. But there are still challenges looming in this new system. For example, it's a little wonky here, but it's important. The city has a lot of rules which are called codes that say how things should be done. That was because you had politicians running these huge departments, and it was clear over time they needed a lot of rules. But now they won't be in control, and the mayor and the city administrator will be instead. But that will also create some gray areas, some fuzzy lines between the mayor's authority and the city councilor's authority.
And so now, because the executive mayor, within the constraint of the budget, really has the ability to say, we're not going to do that way anymore, we're going to do it this way. And the administrator can carry that out. So we are literally removing lots of things from code and putting them in administrative rule that only the mayor will have the authority to change administrative rule, and the administrator. And so where's the edge of the authority for the executive and the legislative body? And what if the legislative body doesn't like the way the mayor is doing things? And how would they voice that? In what way would they do that? And what's that interface? And can a new mayor who maybe cares about a different way to do sheltering than what we have been doing, do they have the authority to just change all of that?
Just wave a magic wand and say not anymore?
Exactly. And so where are the edges of that authority? And I think I mentioned this too.
How do you work that out?
Well, I think I mentioned before that in our previous discussions that I think the most important aspect of this new government and new way of governing is that the mayor and council work together as much as possible. That they're overly communicative with each other about what they want to accomplish, how they think they want to get there. Even if the mayor has the authority to do it all by themselves, they don't have to ask council. They should still be consulting with council and talking with them about where they want to go and how are they going to get there. It's the other reason I think I mentioned to you before that I think a strategic planning effort co-sponsored by the legislative and executive branch would be one of the best things they could do together.
Okay, I know that's a lot of information, but I wanted to bring it to you to show you that some parts of the city are getting better and working better together, and there are still likely some power struggles ahead. Have any thoughts on what you've heard? Do you have faith in the systems that Jordan is outlining for us, or are you concerned about this new shift of power? Let us know what you think, will you? The email is thestory@kgw.com, or call and leave us a voicemail. The number is 503-226-5090. I look forward to hearing from you. By the way, you were not the only ones watching last night on our show when we interviewed Mr. Jordan. Folks from the county were as well. And they did not necessarily like it when Mr. Jordan said the city got into the homeless sheltering business because the county was not in that business. The county folks want to point out that in 2020 they opened 17 new shelters, nearly double the 9 that the city opened at that time. Okay. When I asked the city about it, they conceded that Mr. Jordan may have painted with too broad a brush, but that the city certainly felt like more could have been done. There you go. Still ahead on the story. We're getting your thoughts on potential layoffs under the new form of government and how you feel about where that money is going instead. We'll be back right after this. We're going to get to some of your feedback now. Before we do that, I just want to remind you how important you are to our show. We are always, almost every night anyway, asking for your emails or phone calls because it tells us what's important to you and it helps all of us see different angles on stories. So we appreciate that. We respect it. We listen to your voicemails and we read the emails. So let's get to some of that feedback from last night. In part one of our conversation with Michael Jordan, we talked about the real possibility of layoffs for the city of Portland for workers in the budget. Part of the reason is there's a squeeze, Jordan said, and the city pays $100 million a year for homeless services. Well, that did not sit well with a few of you. Timothy wrote in to say, thank you for your reporting. The idea of laying off city workers who have a job, contribute to society, and get paid for it, only to then make them unemployed so the city government can give that money to people who don't work and for the most part won't work, is the height of Portland political stupidity.
My problem is this. We spend millions of dollars to clean up the mess and the garbage and the camping spots all over the city, time and time and time again, and we get to pay for that, while the people who, and not all of them, I get that some people are down on their luck. However, I've seen far too many stories of people who choose to be out there, who have no consequence to doing what they do, making the messes that they mess, while we sit back and pay for them to do as they please.
I've heard that sentiment from a lot of folks. Angela also left us a message urging all of us to visit downtown to help with its economic comeback.
One thing that I want us to do is to look for opportunities to strengthen downtown. So perhaps, I don't have the answers, but I work downtown a couple of days a week, and I notice there's a lot more work that we need to do. I know a lot of us get asked to participate and help. I think this is a responsibility not only for the city officials or the employees, but it's a responsibility for all of us if we want to see a successful city that generates the revenues to pay for the services that we want.
And finally, Dick was one of several who wrote in to praise Michael Jordan, the city insider who explains things so clearly. He was very transparent, open, and natural way of explaining things, even when the news he's presenting is not positive. The matter-of-fact, open way he presents it makes it easy to understand and easier to accept. Hey, thanks to all of you who took the time to email or call in. We really do appreciate your comments. Still ahead, one of Oregon's newest politicians has just been elected, but she hasn't even started middle school yet. We'll meet this year's kid governor and hear the issues she wants to tackle while she's in office. I know you're probably a little tired of election news by now, but stay with us. This is a good one. It's never too early to get involved with democracy, and a Portland fifth grader is about to spend the year getting a big education in local government.
Hi, my name is Rosie, and I want to be Oregon's next key governor because climate change is affecting our community, and I think I can make a change.
I love it. This is Rosie. She just got elected Oregon's newest kid governor. Every year, fifth graders throughout the state run for office. They pick a platform that's important to them to try and address during their term, and then thousands of fifth graders from across the state vote for them. There were 22 candidates this year, all very worthy, and then they were narrowed down to 7 by an independent panel of judges. Here's the moment Rosie and her classmates found out she'd won. Congratulations, Rosie. It's a lot of screaming. As you heard, Rosie's platform is addressing climate change. She says she wants to help other kids create a cleaner community.
Higher and lower temperatures from heat waves and ice storms not only have reduced and will continue to reduce the quality and the yields of crops, but have increased water supplies, especially groundwater supply in Oregon, and the spreading of disease and insect infestations of plants. But also, the amount of wildfires has increased in Oregon because the total area of land burned by wildfire each year has increased significantly in Oregon over the past 35 years. Climate change is a big issue for our health because the extreme heat is the leading cause for weather-related deaths in the United States.
And by the way, they aren't just words. These kids have to come up with a plan. Rosie's plan has 3 parts. The first is to have people act in their home, things like composting and reducing car trips. She also wants to have class meetings and encourage kids to share their knowledge about the climate to others. The other finalists will become Rosie's cabinet members. They'll all be sworn in January at the Capitol in Salem. Rosie will spend her one-year term sharing her issue with constituents, writing a blog, and meeting with people all across the state. Sounds like a wonderful education. Congratulations, Rosie. The KGW Great Toy Drive is going on right now. The effort wouldn't be possible without volunteers like Gresham Dental Group. This is their 2nd year as a drop-off site in the KGW Great Toy Drive, so a big thank you to them. We appreciate what you're doing to help out. One option, let us do the shopping for you. Head to the kgw.com/toy and then just click Donate Cash. Or if you'd like to drop off and say hello, come see us this Saturday at the Hollywood Fred Meyer Collection event. We'll be there from 10 till 2. Help us bring a little joy to local kids and teens this holiday season. Hey, that's the end of our show. Thanks so much for watching. And remember the story, our collective story, well, that never ends. I'll see you tomorrow. And you can stream the story on your own schedule. Download the free KGW Plus app. It's available now on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV.